yeah, if you were to get in combat and you have a bag full of and it is pretty close to your limit, yeah, that would put, if you got into a fight, you're going to have to drop that bag.
Oh, even just having a bag. Like right now, I'd much rather fight you with nothing on me. There's a reason why people take off their shirts in fights.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I mean, like, I would rather fight you naked, too.
I really just want to fight you naked, Nix.
Well, all right, it's going.
Oh, welcome to Take the Damage podcast by Unfortunate Ones. I'm Sov.
I'm Nix.
And Gray is not with us today. So we're doing a little two-person podcast, and that's okay because today's topic is, well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what
I
it is.
definitely haven't picked one out
Yep,
already.
definitely
I'm going to roll
You are
dice.
doing all of the motions of rolling a dice.
I'm going to
though.
make the sound and pretend that it's like, oh, that's off the list.
Yeah.
Definitely not intentionally choosing a short one that Gray wouldn't care to be a part of.
Yeah, that's not the goal at all.
Because that would be lying to the audience, and I wouldn't do that. So today's podcast topic is 12. 12? Oh, look at that. It is a short one. Encumbrance. I have no idea how much we can talk about encumbrance. I have a couple of thoughts. One, obvious one, the rules that I generally use.
Sure.
Two, just talking about different rule sets that we know about. And then, three being like different ideas that we have or interactions with or what we've seen, blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
So I'll start at having active games. Generally, the rule that I go with, because I usually start not at level 1.
Yeah.
And in my mind, probably around the 4 or 5 level range. And in my mind, if you're a 4th or 5th level adventurer, you could probably relatively have whatever common items you want.
Sure.
Like mundane common items, common non-magical items. I imagine you could have it.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. Even common magical items, depending on the setting. I don't like encumbrance rules. I find them annoying to track and deal with. So the encumbrance rules that I generally use is whatever is within reason for you to carry on your person or the containers that you have.
Sure.
But if you're utilizing containers, they exist within those containers. So as an example, if you don't have a backpack, if you don't have a purse, if you don't have an adventuring pack, if you don't have a horse with saddlebags, if you are just utilizing your person with no packs, you don't have 10 daggers. That's just not true.
Sure.
That is unreasonable. That's too many daggers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't care about how much things weigh.
Yeah.
I care about
Does it make sense
not
that the
being
character has
silly.
it? Yeah.
And then if you have packs, you could throw things in the backpack. Generally taking things out of a pack, in my mind, if it's not something that is on your person, it is in your bag, in your pack, or whatever, I would consider it an actual action to draw that out. So you have a pole arms on you, you have a sword on your back, you have a couple of daggers, throwing daggers or whatever on your person. Cool. But you also have a returning hammer, dwarven returning hammer in your backpack. Okay. To get it out of your backpack is an action.
Sure.
And then also, I usually don't enforce this, but I do emphasize my preference, which would be like, hey, you should put your backpack down when you're doing stuff.
I mean, in terms of baseline, very often because the kind of games that I've run so far have not been, even if it is a serious story, it isn't like, I don't take it so serious. For the most part, if the game, especially if it's in 5e, I go to that first page of building the character sheet, and I tell people when they're building the character sheet digitally, just check off encumbrance. I don't really care. It doesn't really bother me. Yeah. If the thing is so ridiculous that you're trying to carry, then it'll be a conversation at the table of
you have 100,000 gold. how are you transporting that? It's not in your pocket.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna get to that. Like, I've had, when we played the Lord's Fall game,
I had 40,000 gold in my
yeah,
pocket.
you guys had unbelievable amounts of gold.
But in the same campaign, you did make us put gold in a cart at one point.
Maybe. But it's a lot of it was kind of always stemmed from like in the game, if it came up and if it was relevant. So like I never checked on your guys' sheets.
No, I don't either. I set that rule hoping that it inspires people to do it, and then I just don't care.
Yeah, if in a single setting, in a single game, you guys come across a hoard of gold, then yes, I would be like, how are you guys going to travel and take this gold from the location you're at? And that probably was the instance where like, oh yeah, you're going to need to put this on carts. You're going to need to find ways to move it because it came up as part of the game. But like in between games and as the sessions go, if all of a sudden or over the progression of your character, you have 30,000 gold pieces on your person, I'm not going to go check your sheet. And I'm just like, if it comes up like, oh, hey, I'm going to go to the bank at this city. I'm going to go to the Iron Bank. And I'm going to go deposit the 40,000 gold that I have on me. Then it'd be like, wait, how much gold do you have on you? You have 40,000 gold? What is that supposed to weigh? And then it would become a conversation.
Yeah.
And then it would just be like, I wouldn't unfairly be like, no, you don't have that. It'd be like,
no, of course not. But it'd be like, hey, moving forward, you probably shouldn't be holding 40,000 gold.
Let's create a circumstances in which you were able to kind of hold some of the gold in various, like you had 40,000 gold. Hey, how about we say you spent some of that to get like access to a pocket dimension at some point. Like you get either like there's like the 10-foot cylinder one or whatever.
I don't know. I wouldn't make someone spend money necessarily, but also like, hey, let's just say that there was a higher currency metal.
But you have platinum. You have
or even something above platinum.
You have fucking iridium or some
because it's silly that you are walking around with 40,000 gold. Like that's.
You have two, or you have the very limited but still printed in this kingdom of unobtainium coin.
Yeah,
and you whatever, and it is each coin is 10,000 pieces is worth 10,000 pieces of gold. Sure, something like that. Some way to work around the thing, like because I had again in that particular game, I had characters who had the tens of thousands of gold.
I stole 40,000 gold. Well, I didn't steal, but like it was my cut. But as soon as my player got a cut, I retired the player just so that it wasn't in the party.
we had one of our players, we'll call her Miss Rogue. She I don't know if we had ever come up with a nickname for her, but she had like at time she would like collect equipment. So on her person, she had her own equipment that her character wore. She had like 2 shields, a couple swords. I remember at one point checking her sheet and like, or her sheet on digitally, and be like, she had like 2 swords, 2 shields, a couple of other things. I was like, that's ridiculous for you to have like on your character. You just have all of this equipment, and it's like a shield, especially a round shield, like the kind of shields she had. Like each one of those is like 30 pounds, like minimum 20 to 30 pounds. Plus, I believe she had like a great sword, and it was like. Yeah, this doesn't make any sense. I never called her on it. And it was just like, yeah, like, again, it didn't come up as part of the game as for you to have to maneuver this thing. So it didn't become a thing that I would be like, oh, this is kind of a thing at the table that we could discuss because that's a fun thing.
Yeah.
If you and your table have some big thing you're trying to move or you're whatever, and it's like now you guys have to figure it out. It's part of the dilemma. It's part of like the thing you have to keep track of.
Oh, I genuinely disenjoy when people want to just skate past anything, really, where they're like, oh, it's fantasy.
Sure.
Like, oh, I don't want to think about that. And it's like, yeah, but that's it's for me, it's so immersion breaking, the idea that someone is carrying 1 million gold on them.
Sure.
In their little pocket. And it's like, how big is gold in this world?
Yeah.
Oh, we're just ignoring it. Gold doesn't have a size. Gold doesn't have a value or a weight to it.
And yeah, you could wave it off, but like the game has set weight for gold. Like for gold coin, like there is, I believe there's like a weight for the amount of like for what a gold coin is.
But I would do the same thing as you with just within reason. Like,
and also don't get me wrong, like depending on the setting and the kind of campaign I want to run, I have had ideas for games where like Encumbrance would be a thing. Weight is a thing because the setting itself would require a level of like survival.
Yeah.
Like there would be a tamping back of like some of the fantastical nature of like healing and food and like food generation and all that stuff. And like what you have on your person, how much you can carry, how far you could travel, all those things would become important. And I think that's when encumbrance becomes an important part
I think
of
it's
the
so
game.
funny when people go hunting and like they're like, because I have players that want to go hunting all the time.
Yeah.
They never hunt rodents.
Yeah, they
never
big
hunt
things.
a squirrel or something like they hunt an elk and then they're like, cool, I pick it up. And I'm like, dude, that's like 400 pounds.
Yeah.
And then, or more, you know? And then, or like a moose or something. And they're like, and I take the moose back to camp. And I'm like, that's like 1,000 pounds, dude.
Yeah.
And like, cool. And then also they're like, how much meat's left? And I was like, I don't know, a decent amount. And like, but like, what are you doing with all this meat? Are you just carrying a moose through the wilds? Also, like, you guys are going to be in the city tomorrow. Are you carrying the moose to the city? No. How much of a moose do you think you're going to eat in the city? Just hunt a squirrel.
Yeah.
But it's not fun to hunt a squirrel.
Yeah, people want you to be a big game hunter, and like you're rolling.
If you live in a city, I think that's fine though, because then just go sell it. We did that in G&G a lot, where you guys would go game hunting. We actually had to dampen that because like I made you guys too rich, and it's like, why would everybody not just go hunting?
It's also like the rules at the beginning were fairly easy.
It was easy to hunt.
Big things
in a game where hunting is big. Yeah, like the rules ended up being like, it takes a couple days to track.
We eventually modified the rules so that it became a more laborious process that made more sense.
Yeah, it made more sense, and it's like, this is like hunting something that you would do, like real hunting, big game hunting is something that you would do if you have downtime.
Yeah,
or if it's your career.
Sure,
and that's why people would do it as a career, not something that you just like. Oh, we need dinner tonight. I'm going to go hunt a mountain lion.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't just wander out into the wild and come back with a mountain lion in 30 minutes because you got a high survival check.
Granted, it is less realistic and more profitable than the current real world because also there's some adjustment for the time period.
Yeah.
And there's, at least I always think of like the images of like the time period of like when people would hunt and they would just have stacks of like corpses being dried out.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like, people were just hunting things to extinction in their local area and not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
And it's like,
we did hunt things to extinction.
Yeah. It was just like, early America and hunting and game animals was wild.
It's crazy how prevalent animals were in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Anyways, speaking of G&G, the rules for G&G, I believe there's encumbrance on there on the character sheet, but we didn't deal with it. But also on the character sheet, and you can see where I get my D&D rules from. Also on the character sheet was like, there was only like 5 inventory slots on the front of your page. And in those inventory slots, there was, there were only like 5 weapons or something like that. And there's a checkbox whether it is like holstered or not.
Yeah.
And the level of holster the quality of holster that you had. And the reason for that was that you could only put so many items in that section before you then had to turn to the other page that is your character sheet where you have general inventory. And the understanding is like, if it is not in that holstered items section, then it is in some type of container, might be your pockets, but it's in some type of container and it takes an action to pull it.
Sure.
So it kind of had that same thing of like immediately limiting the amount of just weapons that you can have on you and ready at any time. You can't have 10 shields. You can have 10 shields, but like they would be part of your containers. And there's no necessarily hard rule for this, but it created a good environment of like, you guys had carts as part of your character sheet. You had horses with the assumption of saddlebags as part of your character sheet. And it's like, those are the containers. When you look at that second page with your inventory, they're in one of those containers would be the consideration. Whereas the front page items, those are the things you have quick access to.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if this is in. I'm pretty sure it's in like D&D or maybe Pathfinder or maybe both. But it's like, yeah, in terms of containers and storage and backpacks and stuff, I believe most of them have to be like, you have to know where the thing is in the bag in order to make it somewhat reliable for you to be able to like
Pathfinder
search for a thing.
I don't know if this is Pathfinder's printed character sheet, but Pathfinder on their version of like D&D Beyond, or at least a more commonly one used, I don't know if they actually made it. And then also on Foundry VTT, yeah, for weapons, there are 3 options. There is inventory, or no, 4 options, sorry, depending on the item. Inventory, sheath, right hand, or left hand.
Yeah.
And if it's not in your right hand or left hand, you can't make an attack with it.
Yeah. I mean,
So it has to be in your sheath. If it is in your sheath, then you can sheath or unsheath, and that considers your turn economy. And if it's in your inventory, I believe it eats one of your actions. Oh, no. No. I think in Pathfinder, sheathing and unsheathing is automatically one of your 3 actions.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I love that. I know this isn't the topic, but I love that raising your shield is one of your 3 actions. I love that so much.
Yeah, because it gives you like defensive bonuses and stuff like that. Like,
and it's an until your next turn thing.
Yeah.
And at the start of your next turn, your shield is automatically lowered. So you have to use an action every turn to hold your shield up. I love that's the type of interaction that I wanted out of G&G, where with cover. So cover like that in G&G is like, it's not an action necessarily, but it adds penalties to your shooting if you interact with cover.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the reason for that. Is I love the concept of like what makes combat interesting. It's not the 1,000 different features you have. It's the strategy that you use when you're in the combat.
Yeah.
In G&G, it's a shooting game. So cover is really important. I love the idea in a sword and board that you have to use your economy to do the board part, and that eats part of your economy. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's fucking wonderful. And I love that sheathing and unsheathing works really... I don't like the way it works in D&D. I do think it should just be a free action based on the turn economy of D&D, but I do enjoy it in Pathfinder.
Yeah.
I enjoy eating an action because you have 3 actions.
In terms of like, cause like it isn't explicitly stated, cause it isn't technically an action, but like D&D technically has 3 actions.
Yeah.
Like it's just, you're limited as to what you can do specifically in the rules of what counts as your free action, your bonus action, and your action for the turn. So like there are 3 different things you could do for the most part. And like there is some level of home ruling where like, you know, some people can make the action of like drinking a potion into a bonus action. Or some people, like you said, they can search their inventory as a bonus action.
I love in Pathfinder you don't have to do that because they're all just actions.
Yeah, it's also like Pathfinder does a much better job of like, one, laying it all out as to what these different actions are. And also because you have 3 actions in your turn, it doesn't feel like you're taking away so much of your ability to do things. Because like,
no, well, it feels so much more strategic to me because it's like you don't just get to move. It's like, oh, do I want to swing my sword again?
Oh, sorry, D&D has 4 moves or four actions then.
Free is not in the book.
Yeah, it is.
No, free action is not in the book. There are things that are not considered actions. Free action is not in part of 5th edition.
Oh, it's not like named a free action?
No, that's... I don't know. So that we got that from earlier editions. I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure it used to be called free actions, and then 5th edition does not have free actions. It also doesn't have crits, and it doesn't have free actions. It just does have a list of things that are non-actions. So it has non-actions. I don't know why they didn't just keep it free actions, but there are non-actions in 5e.
Huh. I mean, I'll take your word, but I swear there was something where there is some, maybe not a direct labeling, but there is some way that they label the free action like yelling and like sheathing and unsheathing.
It's a non-action. It is listed in the book as a non-action.
As a non-action. Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure about that.
At least
I don't know for a fact,
At least
get in the comments, correct me. Yeah. As if anybody's listening.
Yeah. There's like 5, 6, 7 people. But like in Pathfinder, the movement is an action, I believe,
yes,
right?
Yes, it is. I forget what it's called.
So
it's not called movement.
Yeah. So D&D has movement, the non-action, the bonus action, and your action for the turn.
And reaction.
Well, reaction usually doesn't take place during your actual turn.
It can.
When do you use your reaction?
I believe it can. I'm trying to think of a case, but I'm pretty sure there are things that can technically be triggered on your turn. But it's not tied to your turn.
As far as I'm aware, the whole concept of the reaction is it happens outside of your turn. It's still within the round, but outside of your turn. That's why
I'm trying to think if there's anything that's worded like
there are things that mean that
if something enters your space or you enter something space for the first time or something like that.
There are things that will occupy your reaction, but the reaction in and of itself happens outside of your turn. So like if you do this thing, like it's one of the monk abilities that yes, if somebody was to enter your space, or there's a halberd ability that if somebody enters your space, you can use your reaction to attack them. It's like changes.
No, I was trying to think if there's anything wording of like if you enter someone's space. Oh, you know what? I'm pretty sure there are things if you miss. Like there are some things that like if you miss, you can do a thing.
I don't know.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I don't know. I could just be wrong about that.
I don't know offhand, but
I'm not a rules lawyer.
Does Pathfinder not have like a reaction economy?
It does.
Yeah. So like it then.
I think usually they're features though.
Okay.
So like for example, opportunity attacks is a feature of like whatever fighter is in. I think is it fighter or is it warrior? Whatever the fighter version is in Pathfinder. There's a feature that you can choose that gives you opportunity attacks. You don't just inherently get it. Yeah. So there are reactions, but they are features.
Yeah. Okay. They're tied to other things in the game.
Yeah, I had one in I've only played one game, but one mini campaign. But I had one. I really wanted to go heavy into the shield thing because I really wanted to experience the shield thing. But just to give myself another opportunity, I had a feature where I can raise my shield as a reaction as well. So I could attempt on my turn to not have to raise my shield, but then if something bad did happen, as a reaction, I was still able to. Sure. But it would only work for that attack. Yeah. But I only got that reaction through a feature.
Yeah. I mean, to bring it back was just like the economy of, at least for the most part, and how I've interacted with it for most players. Yeah. The economy of how you interact with your inventory during like actual combat. Yeah. I don't feel like I interact with too much, other than like there's the general house rule of like potions and bonus action stuff. Yeah. But like, yeah, searching your inventory. If you don't know where a thing is, if you don't have it on hand,
and if you don't have what would be considered quick access to it, yeah, that eats your time. Yeah. And in G&G, it was like, I think 2 second rounds.
Yeah, and then you have the whole like sheathing, unsheathing thing with D&D, which is like, yes, if you decide to put 14 swords on your body, like there is the whole dropping the weapon as like your because dropping your action as a non-action, as a free action, you can take out your sword.
Yeah,
you can
sheath or unsheath an item or a weapon.
Yeah. So I feel like there's I don't know I think I have to go back to that fucking book to try to figure out like this little conundrum.
It is a non-action to either sheath or unsheath a single item on a turn.
Yeah, I don't know if it was our home brew rule where I would allow, like, if you decided to just drop your weapon. Oh. Then you can sheath and unsheath. So the act of dropping the weapon.
Oh, I don't know if that is a rule or not.
Yeah, I believe that might have been a homebrew rule of just like.
That's interesting. I've not thought about that in forever, but I've always just considered that a rule. I don't know if that's a rule or not.
Yeah, because we did it all the time. It was just
I
like,
think it makes perfect sense.
yeah, if you have access to multiple weapons in your inventory,
Yeah.
you can choose to just drop the weapon because it's not an action to like, you're not trying to throw it in any direction. You're just trying to
opening your hand
to unsheath a sword.
Yeah. It's
in the action of unsheathing, you drop your weapon. So like we just rolled it into that thing.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's still like the concept of having fighters or any class that just has like, because we had this in G&G too, where like we had characters who either played with the idea or did have multiple revolvers.
That's fine though.
So yeah, because as long as it makes sense.
Well, especially in my world, you had to buy the sheath. So like you couldn't just buy 10 revolvers and now you have access to 10 revolvers. You had to buy 10 revolvers and 10 sheaths and then make it make sense to me why that is a possibility. Like, why are you able to do that? Where are you putting all of these revolvers? How visible is that to everybody?
I don't remember if G&G if we initially was playing with this idea or if it was something that I was playing with, which is like trying to do like an Escape from Tarkov kind of like inventory system where bags.
I was actually going to talk about that post ad, but yeah, no, that's fine. I think we did talk about it for G&G as a concept, but of like layout of a bag and the size of a bag and things like that.
Yeah.
But eventually we were like, allow for a little bit of fantasy where it's like, yeah, you could have a rifle in a bag. I think I had different sized bags, so you did have to decide how big your bag was, including up to like a satchel.
Yeah.
That's what you want on you. You know what I think I would add though? Is I think I would add 2 bags, especially just to really emphasize the importance of surprise in G&G, is it is an action to remove a bag from your person.
Oh, to drop a bag?
Yeah, to drop a bag. And if you have your bag on you, you suffer disadvantages to like movement.
Oh yeah, I mean that was something else that I wanted to talk about that I kind of you just reminded me of, was just that like, yeah, if you think about like, let's say in your initial setup where you were talking about like, if the character has spaces to put things, if they have the bags, if they have the things, how much do you consider in the talk about encumbrance? If your warrior, your fighter is fighting, let's say it's a 2-handed or it's sword and board, and you have a backpack, you have a side bag, you have like a couple of like pouches on you, like how much would that all hinder your movement?
Yeah.
If you have like a bunch of shit in a backpack, you have a hip bag and you have like 3 pouches on you all full of shit, like, yeah, it would make turning, it would make running, it would make certain swings just harder.
Yeah.
So like, for the most part, I never considered that, because again, it's just more of a relaxed game, more of a not thinking about these little things. But when I was talking about like, if I had something, if I did want to set up a scenario where I did put players in a more focused environment,
more survival,
like a more survivally, a more like, you have to consider these things. Yeah, if you were to get in combat and you have a bag full of shit and it is pretty close to your limit, yeah, that would put, if you got into a fight, you're going to have to drop that bag.
Oh, even just having a bag. Like right now, I'd much rather fight you with nothing on me. There's a reason why people take off their shirts in fights.
Oh yeah,
right?
I mean, like, I would rather fight you naked too.
I really just want to fight you naked, Nix. I rather fight you with nothing on my back than an empty backpack.
Yeah.
I think that would be a disadvantage. And I think for that to translate to a disadvantage to dexterity checks or movement, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, some sort of penalty to be like, yeah, your general movement is restricted because you have this thing on your back that is like a counterweight. Like, as you're trying to move in a direction, it's great for weight training. It's great for training in a situation where like you don't have that counterweight anymore. But like once you have that counterweight on, things become more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun concept to play with. But like, I don't know how most players would react to it. I think you'd have to set them up for it.
So much of putting realism into it. I think it'd be fine for G&G because G&G is already brutal realism. But like, I think like D&D specific. I think Pathfinder would probably be okay too, just based on who plays Pathfinder. But I think D&D, there'd be a huge problem with that. I think a lot of players. I'm not saying everybody, by the way.
I think as long as you put it in your setup.
In the context of what I'm saying, D&D has a huge net of who plays D&D.
Yeah. And there is a huge casual
and there
market.
is a large subset of people who play D&D because it is kind of loosey-goosey fantasy, or it can be loosey-goosey fantasy. So if there was a hard rule in there where like you had to have items in a container, you had to burn action economy to be able to pull it out, and if you have a container on you in combat, you have disadvantage to stealth, you have disadvantage to dexterity, I think people get upset. You know how many players tell me like they don't want to play with any form of the rules of not being able to sleep in armor? Because they just want the high AC all the time.
Oh, like the most common one is either people ignoring, not paying attention to, or just completely disregard the whole like disadvantage with stealth with plate. The whole like if you're not proficient with it, how many penalties you get. I've had it many times.
I still don't fully understand it because they don't show up on the character sheet at all.
Usually there's a little like D.
If you're
like
not proficient with it, yeah.
Yeah, there's like a little like usually at least I've seen on when I build sheets, there's a little like dice marker. There's a little thing, a little indicator that shows like, yeah, you're getting all of these. And it's also like on the front page. It's usually like written in text. Yeah. Like that says you have all of these different things. But I've had it where players like, oh yeah, they just put plate on because plate is 18 AC. And then like, I want to have the highest AC.
I honestly think that plate should have disadvantage to all players all the time, all stealth.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a giant clinking thing.
Clink, clink, clink. Yeah. You just like, you've chosen safety over, you've chosen being hard to attack over being unnoticed.
Yeah. Even like masterwork plate that I've seen, where like you see like those little like the little like shells or the little like layers of like metal where like the guy puts it on and it's like, oh yeah, I can turn my wrist, and you see how like fluid
it's
this
beautiful.
person, and it's like, oh my god, that looks wonderful. But the whole time it's clink, 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 just the rubbing of metal and like shearing sounds, and it's like, you can move beautifully, and you look graceful, and it looks like you are wearing thousands of hours of work. Yeah, but also, every part of you is making noise because this is all metal on metal. There's no grease. There's no like lubricating like silicone pad between each one of these.
Even if there was, that'd be loud.
Yeah, but it's like there's nothing to dampen the sound of this curved piece of metal hitting another curved piece of metal.
Metal on metal makes noise. If you don't believe that, like you look at mundane instruments like forks. Put two forks, slap two forks together. Yeah. It makes noise.
Yeah.
That is less than half a pound.
Or you even think about your
combined weight for both forks. Now imagine that, but 50 pounds. So we're talking like what, more than 100 times? Yeah, more.
Just think about like your most people's like breakfast routine, where you put like a spoon in a cup to like make coffee or in your cereal. All of the noise the clinking spoon makes.
Yeah, that's one
piece of your armor.
That's one tiny piece of your armor.
And like a fraction.
That's the equivalent to one of your finger joints.
Yeah, I was about to say,
You got much larger joints. You got elbow joints. You got shoulder joints. You got all of these other joints that are making clinking. That
and you also have the concept that like the pants and the waist part are like cinched and held by different parts of your body. Yeah. Sometimes it's all kind of going to your shoulders, where your shoulders kind of brace all that weight. Sometimes it's over your hip. Yeah. But like it's different parts of your body. So as you're moving, these giant kind of pieces of metal that are all kind of like holding on to different parts of your body, well, you move up and down when you walk. Yeah. So all of that goes up and then down It is like you had a coin purse or like a bag of marbles and you move it up and down. That's all going to make noise. It's all.
And one, just going back to what we were talking about earlier, what the fuck do you think 40,000 gold pieces sound like in a bag?
Yeah. Also, yeah, if you had a fucking inventory full of shit and you had metal shit in there and you had a backpack and you're going to try to stealth across a dark alley, like, go fill your backpack.
That would be too, I would enjoy it personally, but that would be too crunchy. But I was just thinking of like, yeah, if you have a container that has multiple items in it, you have disadvantage to stealth. Once again, you got to put that container down, brother.
Yeah.
You can't sneak up on someone with the backpack if it is full of daggers. That's going to be so loud. If you have 40,000 gold, like in general, like even if you just have 10 copper.
I mean, it's definitely
like, don't try, like, put that aside so you don't have to, like, you know, when you're sneaking up on someone.
Yeah, it's definitely something I would love to play, like you said, in a super crunchy setup. If I had like a super tight setup for something like that, real survival heavy, real focused on like trying to make realistic aspects of like the interaction of these things and trying to have my players be very conscious of the decisions they make. Same thing with like the dawn dothing, like sleeping with the shield next to your bed.
Hold that thought a little bit.
Sure.
Because that actually leads into the topic that I do want to talk about when we come back from the sponsor, which is me and your combined joy of conflict of choice and how encumbrance can play into conflict of choice.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I'll start the music.
Yeah. I can't wait for you to have to.
Oh, it's going to be awful.
Let's get hyped.
Let's go.
Dragon breath.
Yeah. Hey, you fucking, you're
am I spoiling it?
You're spoiling for the audience.
Well, we don't even know if it's going to be that because I got to roll for it.
Let's go.
Let's go roll on the loot table.
All right. Today's sponsor is a 3. No, a 5.
Ooh,
a 5.
Let me look what a 5 is.
I wonder what a 5 might be.
Oh, do. Let me search through the paperwork. Oh, there it is.
Analyzing.
It's Joe Owlbear's Dragon's Breath. Have you ever needed a little pick-me-up during the day, and you kind of want to make sure that pick-me-up isn't going to do irreparable harm, that elven leaf is going to do to your lungs and permanently scar your lung tissues and leave you potentially with cancer risk? Well, Joe Owlbear has a solution for you. He provides you a nice, relaxing, oh God, I lost it already. God. I was going and it's just...
These magical devices emit various vapors and smokes and other things, fog, that emanate from your favorite environments in a handheld device straight into your lung holes.
Yeah, and they come in delicious flavors like strawberry kiwi and Raz lemonade. They hit the spot when you need it. You can get just the glycerin and flavors, or you can get the added menthol. The great thing about this product is they also offer the disposable cartridges that you can get at many, many local vendors and many local merchants. They come in convenient packages. It's... I fucking lose it so easy, man.
For all of you out there who are thinking, I don't want something fruity in my mouth, the whole reason why I originally smoked that nice elven leaf was because you liked that hearty feeling. Well, you can get that. There's flavors for everyone. Try Dragon Breath's new line called Man Flesh. And all of you Fanged audience members out there, don't think I forgot about you. Dragon's Breath has also come out with a new Crimson line.
You ever need to tamp down that feeling of, you can't always go out at night and suck blood.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to get a little bit of that fix off to just give you the next moment in time for you to catch your breath, set up for your next moment where you can go and hunt in the night. Dragon's Breath Crimson Line can help you stave off that craving for those next few hours.
Worried about variety? Look no further. Crimson line comes in a variety of flavors, such as Orc Crimson, Dwarven Crimson, Human Crimson, Elven Crimson. If there's a preference that you have out there, Dragon's Breath has it for you.
I'm not a good improver, man.
I miss Gray writing the ads.
Yeah, it's funny because like I've had the thought for a while to just sit down and write an ad because again, that's where I'm comfortable. If I have a little bit of time, I can kind of put the thing together and I can kind of improv based off of the lines that I have. If I have a good setup. But god damn it, dude, I flail if I got nothing. If I got nothing, I'm so like,
dude. Last time with the studying for dissertation, and then later I said studying for dysentery.
yeah,
we all flounder. It's
Yeah.
fine.
I just need more practice with it. I just haven't done it in a minute. It's been a minute since I fucking had to like on the spot just fucking improvise something silly.
Love it. All right, so encumbrance from the standpoint of conflict of choice. Me and you are a big pusher of conflict of choice. It's one when we were talking earlier about the action economy of Pathfinder. To me, what I love about the action economy of Pathfinder is the conflict of choice. Do I want to raise my shield and protect myself? Do I want to hit? Do I, because no one gets to inherently do this, there are features that make it better, but do I risk the penalty for hitting twice? Do I risk the penalty for hitting 3 times? Do I need to move in this situation? There's so much conflict of choice, which is not there, in my opinion, in D&D. It's why I would much rather play a Pathfinder fighter than a D&D fighter. I love fighters in D&D. I'm not trying to hate on it. And I'm not even talking about balance right now, but there is something to be said about the monotony of if you're a fighter. What do you do? I slash. What do you do? I slash. And whereas,
and like your favorite fighter subclass is Battlemaster because
there's variety, there's interest, there's things to do, there's choice to be had, and in Pathfinder there's inherently that with the 3 different options. And I think, bringing it back to the topic, encumbrance can and should be the same way. If I walk up and I don't have a backpack on me and there is a sword on the ground that looks nicer than my sword, but my sword does something special or there's legend to the name or something, all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, what do I want to do? If we are chasing down bandits and we know they're in the woods just over there, we could see their campfire. We've snuck up on them. And I have a lot of things in my inventory, but we're going to be sneaking.
Sure.
And you can't sneak with containers without suffering a disadvantage. Let's say if those are the rule sets like we were talking about earlier. Okay, well now I want to get rid of my container. So what am I bringing to this fight? If I can't have my container, if you only have kind of like my G&G sheath system, or like you were saying, like Escape from Tarkov, where you have like a bag and you literally have to Tetris everything to fit in there. If I have to make the decision of what I am bringing with me, kind of like akin to the feeling of being a caster in D&D, like a cleric, where you have to choose every day, like, what spells am I bringing with me? And especially when you know you're confronting something, it's like, ooh, what do I need?
Yeah.
I want to look at inventory in that way. I want to look at inventory. I want rules to be, but I don't want them to be too crunchy either. Like we were talking about, like making a rule that if you have too many items in your thing, then you suffer disadvantage. That feels a little crunchy. There does need to be a balance where I'm still having fun and not everything is sitting here trying to do math. But I think penalizing walking around with a bunch of gear and backpacks and tool sets and things like that. I think penalizing stealth on certain armor sets. Like I really don't like, one thing I don't like in a lot of TTRPGs, but my biggest experience outside of my own is D&D, obviously. I really don't like that there are things that are just better. Like there are weapons that are just better. There's no reason. And by the way, 2025 actually has things that address this. I don't love the way they have addressed it, but they did still address it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there's not really much conflict of choice with weapons. Everybody picks the same weapons. In general, if you're a ranged fighter, you generally pick this thing. If you're a rogue ranged fighter, you pick this thing. If you're a fighter,
if you're efficient or if you're proficient with the item,
yeah,
and you have the ability to use it, you're always gonna pick the thing that has or at least most people always pick the thing that has the highest dice class.
Yeah. Well, erase the name and erase the flavor, and then compare them. If there is no reason to pick one thing over the other. Or sorry, if there is a reason to pick one thing over the other, regardless of whatever name and flavor you've erased, they're going to pick that thing. Like, if boomerangs were the best weapon in the game, everybody would just be using boomerangs. And maybe there was strategy. Maybe they wanted everyone using longswords. Maybe that was a strategy. Maybe that was the flavor they were trying to achieve is like, this is a world of swords. You know what I mean? But still,
I actually just saw this on one of YouTube dives I did. The original like AD&D or like the original version of it, the original Dungeons and Dragons before it became AD&D, before the first Greyhawk supplement, everything was a D6. Yeah. So like every weapon, no matter what, did D6 damage.
But they do different things?
No, well, I think there was maybe some differences in what weapons did, but this is the part that I caught, which is everything was D6 oriented because that's all there was. There was no dice set. There was no D4, D6.
Oh, I get you.
So everything had to be built around a D6. So like health pools were D6, weapons were D6.
Well, one of the things I loved about AD&D, and this was a conflict of choice of what weapons. By the way, once again, just so everybody is clear, the tie-in here is if there's a conflict of choice of weapons, and then there's a penalties for having too many things on you, aka encumbrance, the topic, then all of a sudden you have to decide what you're taking with you, and if there's a conflict of choice of what to take. So that's why we're on this tangent. The thing I loved about AD&D, one of the things I really loved is your initiative was based on the weapon that you had, and the bigger, heavier, better weapon, the worse your initiative. You go last. You are slower. I thought that was wonderful. And then, talking about like penalties to armor. What armor do I want to bring with me? So if I'm naked, I have an AC of 11. If it's an AC-based system, I have an AC of an 11. And then if I have this like leather armor, maybe I have an AC of 13, but I could sneak up on people. And if I have any metallic armor, which would be the higher ACs, like, maybe I could pump my AC up to like 18, but also like I am at a disadvantage on my stealth checks.
Sure.
So like it is infinitely harder to, I've seen systems like more independent indie systems where it's like, oh, if you're wearing plate armor, you don't have disadvantage, you fail stealth.
Yeah.
People do just hear you coming.
Yeah.
There's no check. You failed.
I mean, I think...
I actually like that for full plate. I think if it's anything under full plate, then it's a disadvantage. And if it's full plate, people just hear you. You cannot stealth. And so in that moment...
half plate.
Yeah. So in that moment, I'm leaving my cart. I know I want to stealth. Or I have to choose between stealthing or just approaching. Okay, well, if I want to stealth, then my plate's out. So now I've chosen my leather armors. And then... I have to leave these things behind because if I put that plate in a bag, it's the same disadvantage on my stealth. And then I can't take my bag with me, so I got to look out there and like, am I trying to make ranged weapon attacks? Am I trying to get in close and slit throats? What weapons am I bringing with me? And if there's a range of weapons that do different things and none of them are the best and there's conflict of choice, it's like, shit, what's going to help me out the most? And if my plan goes bad, what's going to save me from, what's going to be the plan B?
Yeah.
What's going to save me from that? And there's this huge conflict of choice in strategy that has nothing to do with my class, nothing to do with my skills, nothing to do with my features. It is just me as a person existing in the world who is at a cart who's not been seen yet, approaching a fire with a bunch of bandits. There's so much conflict, and a lot of that conflict is birthed from the consequences of encumbrance. So like in that situation, I think like that conflict of choice, if you have more brutal encumbrance rules, it makes the game more of a strategy game, which I think is more fun.
I agree with you for the most part. I think one, the game rules in and of itself have to have something that helps lean to the tendency to try to consider these things.
Yeah.
And I think also,
but it can still be high fantasy. Like you could still go and be a superhero at the campfire once you've started fighting. You just do have to deal with these consequences getting there. I
think part of like what hinders some of that is also like the concepts of like, I know this is a slightly different topic, but like your party composition.
Oh, for sure.
Where like the person who is the knight with the plate armor, or the fighter, the paladin with the plate, they have a rogue on their team. So the person who's going to take the hit of having to like reduce their armor and like consider their weight, consider their stuff for stealthing, or consider in terms of along the lines of the stuff you're talking about. It's like, oh no, that's not my business as the paladin or as the fighter. The rogue is going to do that part of the job. Versus like in your setup as a DM, it's like, no, the whole party has to make this journey. The whole party has to be involved in this particular thing. So it's a little bit of the DM.
You don't have to. You could just have a very adversarial party.
Of course.
But no. That's me just bitching because I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I also like, real quick, the paladin is going to want to wear the plate armor because there is like a culture that's been bred around it, and the paladin has kind of been made into this thing where they consider their AC of 19 an intricate part of who they are, and I hate that.
Yeah.
I think that a paladin I think the game should be cultivated in a way where the paladin has the same conflict of choice. Yeah. So like plate armor maybe gives you disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. So it doesn't necessarily lose you dexterity saving throws, and it does save you, your AC is higher. So you can get that 18 AC. Well, then why would I ever want to use the armor that has only 16 AC?
Yeah.
Oh, because dexterity saving throws. Like you're looking at these guys, and based on whatever they're doing, you can tell that there's going to be a lot of fucking dex involved, you know? And maybe having that 18 AC is not worth losing all of your dex saves. So then all of a sudden the leather armor is not just a lower number. It's my problem. My problem is the way the D&D solved it is they tied money to it.
Sure.
And that doesn't solve it because every single DM handles money differently, and every single DM also handles money differently because there is no standardized pricing.
Yeah.
So there are standardized pricings on some items, but not everything within the world. And there's not, in my opinion, there's not a good guide of everything in the world.
That's probably one of my biggest like disappointments of like the transition from 3.5 or maybe even 4 to 5, which is like 3.5 had a pretty good laundry list of the price of everything. And maybe because it was an older version and because it was that 0.5, because it went from 3 to 0.5. But like a lot of times I'd be looking through 5, like, and I'd be like, oh, how come there's no price on this?
Yeah.
This had a price. Like, it's like fucking, like healing potions. Like standard healing potions has a price. And like greater and supreme healing potions are in the book, but I believe they don't have prices.
They don't have a price.
So it's like, what is this? Like, how come you don't have a price on these things? Like, why? Like, I have to go, like, to make things for me easier as a DM, where I'm not trying to build a fucking economy for my world. I'll just go to like some supplement, something that somebody put online in some forum of just like, hey, here's a sane price list. I believe that's one of those. Like,
but that's why, in my opinion, it's the biggest cop out is the way that you've balanced weapons and the way you've balanced armor is based on price, but you didn't flesh out prices. So it's not a real barrier. And like, you know, depending on the player and depending on the GM, like 1,500 gold can be impossible to ever achieve. and 1,500 gold can be like your starting wealth.
Yeah.
And actually, implications of starting wealth, 1,500 gold isn't actually that bad in D&D terms. So then why wouldn't everybody who's proficient just have plate?
You know what might be that I was thinking of that might be a fun concept to play with it in terms of creating a point in which trying to find a balance where you have that conflict of choice is if somehow part of, let's say you're creating a new variation of paladin and like something like paladin, which is like, yes, the baseline paladin is everybody chooses the highest rated armor because they're proficient with it. They're proficient with the heaviest armor. I'm wondering if there's a situation, if you were to create that class, if you could do something like the wizard's mage armor, which is if you don't have armor, you get access to this other ability. So for paladins, let's say it's like holy armor. So you get the ability when you are in battle to give yourself a holy armor.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be 18.
To raise your AC.
It shouldn't be as high as plate.
Sure. But let's say it's close, but the fact that you don't have armor gives you, let's say, certain kinds of stat boost. And let's say having the armor gives you negatives.
Yeah.
It gives you the high AC, but it comes with this toll of having these other things that hinder your character.
Yeah.
So that you as a paladin, you don't have to go into combat as the classic paladin, heavily armored. You could be a paladin that just has his holy sigil on his cloth,
You know
like
where I think it breaks in 5e with the plate armor. Now I feel like we're just on a tangent. But you know where it breaks, in my opinion, is that proficiency is a quantifiable number.
Sure.
Based on your level.
Uh-huh.
Your character level, not even your class level. And for a lot of things, if you are proficient in a skill, you add your proficiency. If you're proficient in a saving throw, you add your proficiency. If you are proficient in an armor, you don't have disadvantage on stealth. I think that was their way of giving of making proficiencies for armors matter, but then it made it so that it made it so there's no conflict of choice, because if you have the proficiency, you're just going to get the best one because you won't ever suffer the penalty, and the penalty is to your stealth. I think that everybody should be able to wear plate armor. There's no reason why you can't pick up and put on plate armor. But if you have a +6 proficiency, then that's what plate gives you, is the +6. So plate armor in general should be like a +1, +2, +3 inherently based on what the armor is. And then you could add your proficiency bonus to it, which at 20th level is only a +6.
Yeah.
So if it's a +6 on a +3, that's +9 on, let's say, base 13. What is that? 9, 10, 11, 22. So you're at 20th level, your AC is 22.
Sure.
That's at 20th level, that's fine.
Yeah.
Earlier in the game, you have a +3. So that's +6 to your base level of 13, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 19.
19, yeah.
19 is your AC at that point. That's fine. And then once you've done all of that, there is no negation of stealth. No matter what, if you're wearing plate armor, you are at disadvantage on stealth. And now there's conflict of choice brought back in. They did a weird thing with their proficiency system where everywhere else, proficiency adds your proficiency bonus. And then with this, it just takes away your stealth and has nothing to do with your proficiency.
I think it's probably just a holdover of terminologies where they use proficiency here and then they use proficiency.
It's something like language. You don't add, there's no adding your bonus to a language.
Yeah. I think kind of like what you were talking about before, which is other than an aesthetic choice in terms of certain armors, once you get medium, let's say you have a medium proficiency, there is no, also with most DMs and most how you start, even in the electronic sheet, there's just starting equipment and you get to just pick. And if you have the choice to pick plate, you will pick plate. If you have plate, but let's say it's medium armor, you're going to go with the highest AC. Most people will go with the highest AC available of the medium armors.
Yeah.
And there's 3 or 4 of them. And it's there's no consideration for a lot of people to go with the hide versus the chain.
Well, and that's why there's so many places where there's no conflict of choice in D&D. outside of your DM storytelling.
Yeah.
There's already there's not really conflict of choice of weapons. There's not really conflict of choice of armors. Me and you have different opinions on people that do power builds, but the reason why power builds are so prevalent is because there's a lack of conflict of choice. There are good builds and there are strong builds and weak builds. And for people that want to be strong, it makes sense to do the strong build, and they're not going to do the weak build. And for someone that wants to do well in combat, they're going to pick the strong weapon and the strong armor. There's not a whole lot of conflict of choice, which is why, in my opinion, in a system like D&D, I don't give a shit about encumbrance. But bringing it back to the point we were at in a topic, leaving D&D for a moment, because this isn't a D&D podcast, it's a TTRPG podcast. There are other games that do have conflict of choice, and I would love for there to be more conflict of choice involved in encumbrance.
Yeah.
I would love for encumbrance to drive strategy.
Yeah, if there was more ways that it mattered. And you could do that as a DM in terms of your setup and your session 0.
Yeah.
But like, as it currently stands, and again, we talked about it before, there's such a wide net of like trying to make sure that the game is fun enough and easy enough for most people to just pick the game up. And again, it's a fucking button that they set up in their system, knowing that people house rule encumbrance out of the game.
Yeah.
Like, it has become such a non-issue for so many people. Because just people...
But I kind of would love to see it be an issue. I would love to...
I agree with you.
I would love to explore things like... I wonder if Delta Green... We gotta ask Gray about this. I wonder if Delta Green has encumbrance rules.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I almost feel like that kind of game wouldn't. But it also, I also wonder how much of Delta Green, in our understanding of it, is Gray's way of doing Delta Green. Kind of like my original understanding of D&D was your way of playing Lord's Fall.
There's a mass interpretation of what you've taken from the game.
Like his whole luck check for I would have done that or I would have brought that.
Sure.
I wonder if that's in the rules or if that's his way of being like, yeah, you don't have to do research on 1998. We'll just assume that you would know things, and if things come up, you can make a roll to see if you would have thought of it.
I think if it's in the skills and it is at D100, I think that for sure I think that is part of the rule set.
It could be. I don't know.
There's some of the luck stuff I believe.
What am I, a guy who reads rule books?
But some of the luck stuff I think is just Gray and his over the years of the people he follows and his own
well, just a level of reason of who cares?
Yeah.
Because I did that recently where someone decided to not spend their starting money. I gave people starting money based on their backgrounds and then had them choose and then have them purchase, which by the way is how you do things in Pathfinder too. And then I had them make purchases.
Sure.
This person is a mage and decided not to make any purchases, and then in the first 2 sessions or whatever, so really early on, they don't know me as a DM, they're getting used to things, blah, 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 blah. And they didn't know how I was going to handle material components, and then they wanted to do a spell, but it had a material component, and I was like, hey, one-time offer, if you want to go and spunk 300 gold for an item, one-time offer, I will allow you to do this. And allowed them to spend the money to be able to get that item into their inventory.
Sure.
Preemptively. But that's definitely not standard rules that people could just convert their gold into items on the field.
Yeah. I mean,
I wonder how much of Delta Green is like that. But I also wonder if there's encumbrance rules. I would like to look up the encumbrance rules for Pathfinder, though I imagine Pathfinder's encumbrance rules are probably similar to D&D.
I would guess again. I can only guess so far as I believe Pathfinder is essentially kind of an offshoot of 3.5 after the 4 disaster.
Well, I'm just curious if there's
a lot of those rules of 3.5, I believe, still carried over.
I've read very few rule books in my life, so this is, I'm not the guy to talk to about this, but I'm just curious if beyond weight, there are any games that handle encumbrance well in terms of space.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like we are talking about.
I mean,
and in terms of in terms of containers like we've talked about, in terms of space like we've talked about, because like I'm enamored by I've not really thought a lot about it, but I'm enamored by the idea of having to make these choices before going into a situation. And if we get caught off guard, what's the first thing you should do when you get caught off guard? Drop your backpack. Why? Because that's going to screw you in combat if you have your backpack. Yeah. Okay. But if you have your backpack, and these are things for everybody to consider, but like if you have your backpack still on you and you realize that based on what's attacking you, you want an item. Okay, well, you should pull out that item first, but that's going to take an action. Maybe dropping your backpack does not take an action, but pulling out an item, that takes an action. But if you drop your backpack, well, it doesn't take an action. You no longer have access to that item.
It's also like, you lose access to your immediate inventory. It's also like if your rules had deals with like the weight of your items and your movement in combat. And let's say you're in a city and you get surprised and you drop your bag, let's say in an alley somewhere. And let's say the combat takes you away from your bag. Do you leave your bag there? Yeah. And like, if you do leave your bag there, well, if you're in a suburban environment, if you're in a city environment,
you're in the slums.
Does that mean that like, if your fight takes any amount of time and there's any amount of resolution that you have to do post combat and you go back to your bag, is your bag still there? Yeah. So like now you have to deal with that consequences. And also it could be like, let's say you are doing more of like what I was talking about. You have like a survival game. Yeah. And let's say you have a similar thing, but it's out in the woods. Yeah. And you lose your bag or you drop your bag, get into a fight, takes you away from your bag, or even if you're not too far away from your bag and your fight is a distraction enough for a creature, a wily creature, to come back to your bag and you have rations in there. Yeah. And it starts to eat your rations. Do you deal with the thing that you're currently combating to try to shush away the creature? Do you spend one of your actions to throw something to get that thing to scatter so that it's not eating your rations? Like I think there's
creates so much conflict.
Room. Yeah, there's so much room for like taking encumbrance and making it matter more.
But matter in like what I would consider to be a fun way, because it's a strategy way. So like the example that you're given, I'm picturing like, okay, you're in a city. It's not a nice city. It's like the slums. You're in what is relatively like a town square type place. You are accosted by the bad guys. And whilst fighting them, the first thing you got to do is drop your bag so that you can fight them properly. That way you don't get the penalties. Whilst fighting them, your style of fighting, you're a skirmisher. You're fast. And moving back and forth between combatants is part of your class build, right? You end up 30 feet away. You kill two of them. One of them runs. Do you chase them? Do you lose 30 feet in the chase to go back to your bag? Do you leave the bag there and chase the guy? You know, what do you do? And then the next time you go into a situation like that, like a cleric, let's say you live in the town, right? Let's say you're staying at an inn. Knowing that that's a possibility, you might leave your bag. If you're just going around town, you might leave your bag back in your room, in your inn. Okay, but now like a cleric, you got to prepare your inventory for the day. There's no time limit that you have to do, but let's say you go and you use regular action economy, 6 seconds around. It takes an action to pull something out, whatever. It takes you a minute. We don't even need to fucking talk about time. But like a cleric, you got to prepare your items, because to be safe, you're leaving your inventory in your inn. Is this a sketchy inn? Maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe that's a different thing. Maybe it's better to walk around the town with your inventory. Or maybe there are places in this city that they know that that's a thing. So there are places that you can take items and like lock them in a lockbox or something, like a post office. And maybe that's safer. So maybe not only when you're walking around the city, but not even in your room, because you got the fucking cheapest room, the single copper room, and it's a bunkhouse and you share it with multiple people.
The door barely even closes.
Maybe you don't want your inventory in either of those places. Yeah. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden there's this conflict of having to prepare your items away from there's a separation between your pack and yourself in preparation.
And it definitely does, like, there is a level of, like, oh, this could be seen as pretty annoying, or, like, maybe this isn't, like, something your players want to deal with. Like, I get that. I could feel that.
Yeah, but then easily you could just have a homebrew rule at your table. It would be like, hey, some of these rules feel a little bit crunchy to me, so I'm just letting you know as a GM, as a homebrew rule, if you leave your bag somewhere, I will not steal it from you.
Sure. Yeah.
Everything is always going to be homebrewed on top of.
Yeah, of course. But I'm just saying, I think there's so much more opportunity to have your players.
Sorry, can I make a stupid joke real quick though?
Sure.
It's like Grand Theft Auto when you play in a server and you play in a server where people specifically aren't allowed to get into your car so that people can't steal your cars because people don't enjoy having their cars stolen sometimes. Yes. And there's plenty of people that play with the standard rules where cars are available to be stolen, but there are people that go to those servers.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, in this world, your backpack is bonded to you by your soul and a blood oath, and no one else is able to touch your backpack.
It's like a bonded,
leave it wherever you want. It's fine.
It's like a bonded weapon.
You still can't fight with it. I like the fighting rules, and you still can't have 1,000 things on your person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I like that part of it, but the idea of having to constantly worry about your bag, that's annoying. So just so you guys know, we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I was going to say is, like, I think it definitely does, like, being so conscious and like building like a more complex set of rules around encumbrance and how it would affect your character in a multitude of different situations. I think it does take away from, like, the more casual nature of how a lot of people treat a lot of TTRPGs.
Depends on the TTRPG though, because a lot of them are not casual.
Sure. Let's say D&D specifically, and 5e specifically even more so.
I would say 5e specific, not necessarily D&D, but 5e specifically. But like Pathfinder's a little bit less casual and more strategic.
I just think that
Call of Cthulhu, all of the brutal ones, Call of Cthulhu, Delta Green, apparently Cyberpunk, which I'm really interested in now that I know that. It's akin to, it's deadly and brutal, apparently, which, oh my God, sci-fi and brutality. I'm super interested. I just learned that recently.
Yeah.
But those games, I imagine you could sell your player base on more. But like 5e specifically, there's a lot of people that want to do away with rules where you have to think.
Sure. I just think there's so much opportunity that you create. If you did, again, not saying that our rules are like, or what we're talking about is the best way to approach it, but it's just like taking the time to consider the different avenues of making encumbrance matter, and not just in a weight, not just in you can only hold this much weight, but trying to think of how that applies to like the different things that your characters are doing. Like, yes,
with a heavy focus on it not being crunchy. So what I would not do in any of those situations would give minor penalties and bonuses that have to stack and you have to think about. Like in my mind, like as an example, in my mind, the plate armor we're talking about gives you disadvantage on stealth. Holding the bag with you gives you disadvantage on stealth. All that means in the end is disadvantage on stealth. You know what I mean? You don't have to think. That's not crunchy at all.
Sure.
But like, if it's like, I have a +2 to my stealth, but then a -1 because of my plate armor, but then a +3 because I got rid of my bag or whatever you know what I mean? Like,
sure. Yeah, again, there are
crunchy. Try to make it in a way that's not crunchy, that is interesting, that feels strategic. The way that I have said that the turn economy in Pathfinder is very strategic, or it is a heavy emphasis on strategy outside of your class. You know, very much connected with your class, but outside of your class, it feels very much like it emphasizes strategy. So have a rule set that makes things feel important via emphasizing strategy, not just bogging down your players.
Sure.
And the weight thing, in my opinion, is just bogging down your players. And it's why, despite this whole, like, whatever half hour it's been that we've been talking about this, in general, I play without encumbrance.
Yeah.
We've talked about ways to make it interesting, but at the end of the day, when I play, I just play without it.
I mean, because just considering the fact that I haven't spent the time to try to make something work in the systems that I play, to make these little things and these little vignettes and these little moments make sense and be feasible, rather than do all that. Like, again, a part of the whole pricing thing. It's just like, you know what? I just kind of want to get my friends and us playing a game.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to think about it. Like, and it's just have the reasonable argument.
Yeah.
It's just, for the most part, that's how I treat Encumbrance. I would love to have these other fleshed out rules.
Be reasonable
But just be reasonable. Just have your characters. What are they doing? What are they like? Oh, you guys are making a trade.
That's literally, I always give a document out to my players that's like the character creation rules. And then there's one that says like encumbrance. And then I say no encumbrance, and then in parentheses, within reason of, or encumbrance, no encumbrance. And then inventory or starting equipment, under that one, I put within reason of being able to hold on your person.
Yeah.
Reason.
Yeah. It's just, I think it is very contextual. And also, like, I just, if you want your characters to have a boat in their backpack, let them have a boat.
Well, that's, player to player or DM to DM.
Table to table.
Yeah, but I mean, you could do that even in this system that we're talking about. If we were to build a system that is so heavy on emphasis of strategy, and people like the combat, people like the weapons, people like the features, the classes, all of that stuff, but they're like, oh, encumbrance is bullshit. Guess what? Just don't play with it.
Yeah, just put the little checkbox off.
Yeah. The checkbox in your mind.
Well, is there anything more you want to bring up?
No, I think that's cool. Cool. I, honestly, my biggest disappointment is I thought this was going to be a super, super short topic, and I also thought it was something that Gray wouldn't be interested in, and it turned out to be kind of long, and also I think Gray would have had so much valuable input.
Yeah, probably. It might be that we try to find in the next...
This might be our first part too. We
might want to find like a shorter topic and just get Gray's input on one of these episodes, one of the next episodes.
I mean, you know what we could do is we could literally pull from, because we've done a me and you.
Yeah, we should.
You and Gray.
Yes. I was thinking about that earlier.
Yeah. So, and a me and Gray. So, like, we should just pull the topics from all three of those. Yeah. And just call it
the fill-ins.
Part 2. The topic sequel or some stupid sequel name. Anyways, yes, I'm done talking about it today. Thank you for listening to Take the Damage podcast by Unfortunate Ones, where we talked about encumbrance. Surprisingly on topic, to be honest, for us.
We had some pretty.
But all of the tangents felt very tied to, like, yes, we talked about weapons a lot. We talked about turn economy. Yeah, we talked about action economy, but all of that was for the purpose of tying it back to the idea of making it important, or making encumbrance important, and how you would do that. And then the opening was me talking about just not using encumbrance, and the ending was us talking about just not using encumbrance. Yeah. Anyways, thank you for listening to us talk about encumbrance. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit bells. You can catch us over on our website or Patreon. Become members to get exclusive content or merch from our website. And yeah, I'm Sov. You can find my links in the description. I do run games, TTRPG games, mostly D&D, though I am thinking about adding Delta into that. Over on startplaying.games, you can find me there. You can join any of my campaigns that are listed if I have seats available. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to reach out and make a custom request or find out what games that I run or have written. But yeah, links in the description. Thank you very much for listening.
I'm Nix. My links will be in the description. I made a cool little animation for our like and subscribe.
Yeah.
That would be.
Oh yeah, join our Discord.
Yeah. I'll put some more progress and art and stuff like that in our Discord, and follow it. See if you guys like it. Make comments if you want.
Yeah. Also, join our Discord and talk to us, because we have no one to talk to. So be the person for us to talk to. You could talk to us about topics. You could talk to us about our systems or any references that we make to games that we've played, things that you might be interested in. You can reach out to me or Graythorn about games. or just, see our homebrew content and enjoy it or hate on it or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Bye. Love you.
Bye.